Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Major 3 in Toronto is just a couple of days away, and we've now heard from a couple of different sources that it does indeed seem that OpTic will be playing this event with Prolute in the team in place of iLLeY. He'll be there in person, but not on the starting team. And Rambo also giving some more clarification to the whole iLLeY kind of, playing in secret situation we discussed last night. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really of the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Plenty to get into today. Yes, June the 2nd through to the 5th 4-day weekend, as it generally is in Toronto. Very exciting stuff, of course. Just wanted to mention real quick, as Fantasy is now open and available on the Breaking Point sites, breakingpoint.gg/fantasy. Pick your team, cash prizes if you win, that's $50. Not too bad. These are some of the pricings right here. Honestly, this week I thought was really tough to pick a good team, actually. With the budget that you have on offer, these are the winners for last time out in the Major 3 qualifiers. All these guys got their cash just yesterday, I'm pretty sure, so awesome stuff. Congratulations to Archer for the top spot. Now, this is the team I went with. It's honestly rather hard. I thought Attach was $7, that's a good pick. I always want to go for some sort of OpTic player, because as we'll look at later today, their slaying is absolutely out of control, and usually they put up some really good numbers. You've also got to think here now, Breaking Point are doing a multiplier now for the kind of tournament placing, so if you go far in the tournament, your numbers, like for fancy numbers, will actually get multiplied by a little bit based on where you place, and if you come last, like let's say you're 10th and you double 1.2, but you come last in top 12, your numbers will get multiplied by 0.8 or something, so you can't just have a one-off crazy series and be the top performing player. So I tried to think a little bit about how deep some of these players are going to go, but for $25 it's tough to pick a good team, but I'm sure you guys can try and do a better job. Link down below, all that type of stuff. Let's talk about this then. So these are the current CDL point standings. This honestly, the more I look at it, the more crazy this gets, honestly, in terms of World Championship qualification. That's why people are going to say, oh yeah, all 12 teams should go to champs, but the fact that only 8 teams go creates these incredible storylines for the rest of the year, to be honest, because 4 teams aren't going to make it, and right now Paris Legion are guaranteed to be down there, but still out of the rest of the teams, we thought, and I've said a few weeks ago, that honestly, Seattle, Minnesota, Ultra, Los Angeles, Thieves, Mutineers, and Subliners were effectively the 6 teams fighting for the 3 spots. I still think that could be the case, but it's actually nowadays far from guaranteed. I think that Mutineers on their current form probably won't make it. Subliners have a chance, but honestly, the crazy thing with New York is that despite going 3-2 in these qualifiers and actually performing pretty well in a lot of these matches, they had some really tough matches, and all the teams around them, Ultra, Rokkr, and Surge, actually did better than they did. So Subliners are now further behind qualification than they were before the start of the Major 3 qualifiers. So they need to have a massive major here. But that's the thing I really mentioned a while ago, is that, okay, Guerrillas, Breach, and London, they're still 3-4-5 based on their performance in their first part of the year, but they've been looking pretty woeful as of late, and they're down there, I think, almost certainly, pretty much certainly, in my opinion, with the Paris Legion in terms of the bottom 4 right now in power rankings, but they're still 3-4-5 in terms of the standings, right? So it's actually possible, I was wondering whether 1-2-5 would be good enough for Guerrillas to actually make it all the way through to champs, but on the way that Surge, Rokkr, and Ultra have come back as of late, and Subliners are looking better, 1-2-5 is almost certainly not going to be good enough to make champs. So all of these teams are actually in a bit of jeopardy, right? Let's say Ravens, Breach, and Guerrillas all get first rounded, which is possible. They stay here. They could start to get overtaken very quickly indeed, and especially if, let's say, a team like Subliners, let's say Subliners win the entire thing, they get 65 points, they move to 1-3-5, that all of a sudden puts them right in position. But really, Subliners here, they need a top 4 or better this tournament, and they need to effectively do that back-to-back if they want to make it, because the teams there seem to be competing against for championship qualification are also looking way better than they have done recently. I suppose they've got to hope in a way that these teams up here start to continue their fall off, so that Subliners actually have an option, right? Because if Subliners are going to make it, then other teams have to fall out. So I haven't really mentioned Thieves. They're here on 90, which is also very precarious as well. So this honestly is absolutely incredible, and even a team like London, 140, also might not be good enough if these other teams really start to turn it around, which is possible if the form of these 3-4-5 teams continues. So that's a crazy one we'll have to keep our eyes on going forward. Of course, OpTic and FaZe, they might actually play each other this tournament in a winners round 2. We'll see later today, at least in terms of what the bracket looks like, but of course they're fighting for the number 1 seed, and OpTic of course go in here arguably as favourites. It's rather tough to say. Of course, Minnesota Rokkr did go the 5-0 record that they had in the regular, in the qualification games, but OpTic, they maybe played slightly harder teams, and in fairness, it feels like teams are maybe more scared to play them than they are to play Rokkr, based on what we saw in the Los Angeles Thieves versus Florida Mutineers. Well, not really a show match, but a tiebreaker kind of show match type thing. But anyway, Sean Collins did an interview with iLLeY just to kind of, understand his perspective on what he's going through right now and when he might potentially be returning. Of course, we saw just a couple of days ago the Thieves series that, obviously OpTic dominated this one from start to finish. Thieves are a really weird team this stage. They played the minimum possible number of maps they possibly could have, apart from the tiebreaker. But, even that was a 3-0, right? They either got 3-0'd or they 3-0'd the other team in every single series they played. They 3-0'd London, they 3-0'd Boston in that kind of crazy series that was the quickest one we've ever seen in TDL history. But every other series, they just lost, right? Look at Shotzzy just running around here. This guy's so difficult difficult to deal with. It's actually incredible, and there's nothing it seemed that Los Angeles Thieves could do to counter him in this series. But of course, Prolute was on the team at the time. He played phenomenal. Well, since he's already joined the team, and as Dashi says here, this guy's out to avoid my haircut appointment, getting a little bit too comfortable recently, right? Effectively kind of saying, yeah, this guy's on our team now. He's kind of part of the gang, part of the culture a little bit, but maybe he's enjoying himself a little bit too much, right? But certainly indicating that more than likely Prolute will be there for the major. We certainly theorized this, right? I think a few weeks ago, like even when Hex said it on the OpTic podcast, like this is many weeks ago now, that he felt like iLLeY wouldn't be back in time for the major. A lot of people were thinking at the time, like, okay, wow, that's kind of interesting, right? Because the initial discussion around iLLeY was, okay, it's only a pimple on his thumb, although that really didn't make that much sense, in my opinion, just because, like, he was talking about how the fact that the pain wasn't there immediately, but it would come after like an hour or two, right? Which doesn't necessarily indicate that sort of thing. I know Crimsix talked about it being a bone spur, so we'll see what he's saying here in a second about waiting for the MRI results. But yeah, for now, like, OpTic don't want to take the risk. They don't want this whole flip-flop thing they had to do during the Prime Classic, where he comes in, he says he's good, he plays one series, drops a 1.2 in fairness, and then wasn't good. General has to come in, like, and all that mess, right? So as Prolute says, excited for the major, and it was eventually revealed last night by Scump on stream, and Scump said it on stream, and then Arcitys was like, yo, Scump just leaked it, right? That, you know, Prolute's playing here instead of iLLeY, but like, I think most of us could have probably theorized this was going to be the case anyway, and Rambo also said it on stream as well, that yes, this will be the case. Prolute will play this weekend. iLLeY's going to be there in person, giving the support with all, you know, the fans that are there in attendance, right? A lot of them are there to see and support iLLeY, because of course, you know, he's from very local in Toronto, in Canada, and he's there home right now, so I guess he can just pop down to the event. But yeah, he will not be playing it this upcoming weekend.
Wait, is Ender going to the event at all? Dude, it'd be vibey to have Ender backstage, I'm not gonna lie.
Is it? I mean, I wanted him, but
it would be vibey to have Ender back there, like, trying to coach us up and before we go on stage.
Yeah. You think he'll come?
Like, listen, you just need to break their irons.
Yeah. That'd be comedy, dude.
Yeah.
You were saying leaked, but like, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
What do you mean? What do you mean leaked?
The like we're playing with Bayern Toronto.
Oh, I mean. The event's next week, like.
I mean, you like made it official, but like it's not a leak. They call you leak. Oh,
nah, bro, that's not a leak.
They call you how the f do I?
Rambo said it already. Oh, Ray said it already. Like, I'm good.
They call you leak up.
Okay.
Yo, leak up.
You should have kept that one in the drafts.
No,
that was horrible.
That was the check of it.
Leak up.
Ray said it on stream. Oh.
No, like we're playing with Prolute next weekend. There's no way iLLeY's gonna come back and play until like iLLeY's not fully recovered yet, and we're not doing the whole seesaw again. So you heard it here first. If you guys were not sure yet, we are competing in Toronto with Prolute. iLLeY will be there, and we will be hanging with iLLeY, and it's gonna be really good to see Mr. Ender and hang out with him again. We all miss him very much.
So I think, in fairness, this is definitely a sensible decision. I think it makes a fair bit of sense. It's also great for OpTic. They've been looking so good with Prolute. And you've got to give credit to OpTic, really. The fact that they've been able to do this with a couple of different substitutes, still looking really strong. Like, I mean, of course, they lost to the Summerlands, but every other series they played was pretty impressive and pretty comfortable, to be honest. And, of course, iLLeY, look, he's looking to come back at some point. He really has to come back, I think, if he is going to come back, at pretty much the start of Major 4. The Major 4 qualifiers that start 2 weeks out. I think it's about 2 weeks after Major 3 ends. Because if he's not back at the start of Major 4, then, like, you know, it's obviously going to cause a little bit of a situation within the team internally when he does make the return. If the system is as good as they say it is, he might just be able to slot back in with no issues. Now, as iLLeY says in this Sean Collins article right here, honestly, this is probably one of the hardest things I've dealt with in my life. Not being able to do what I love is definitely very hard. And he's also talking about expecting MRI results. So, like, he's gone to a new doctor. The first doctor was faded. We talked about that story. And he's expecting some MRI results very soon indeed. And I think he got an x-ray as well that Scump was explaining in a podcast last week. About, okay, what exactly is the issue here with the thumb? Is it okay? Like, seemingly, as we'll see in a second here, the doctor kind of said, look, okay, give it a go. It should probably be okay. Should be better now. Like, just try it out and see how it's going. But as yet, we don't really have an update on how that really worked out. The kind of secret, session of Chels that he played last night. And these are just some words here from iLLeY. I wish I could be competing, but even though I can't compete, Byron, that being Prolute, is the perfect replacement. I've known him for years. He's been doing his thing absolutely fine. I honestly wouldn't wish anyone to be in this situation except for him. He's a grinder and absolutely deserves the opportunity. Even Shots, he has a few words on the situation. situation, right? Because they've certainly been a duo. Like, I know how hard it is for him to watch us, regardless of whether we win or lose. He's watching his own team play, and it's frustrating. So I haven't been bothering too much, right? Because don't want to frustrate him, I suppose, which does make sense. But of course, like, they're going into this tournament still as up there with one of the favorites based on the way they've been performing with Prolute as of late. And individually, of course, he's been pretty damn good. Now, yesterday we looked at this clip, right? So iLLeY was kind of, leaked or exposed or caught in 4K or whatever, playing on a ringer, playing some chows on an account that wasn't his own. And the initial thought about this was, okay, wow, is iLLeY kind of going behind the team's back? Because the initial reaction from Shotzzy and Scump was, like they said on screen, we looked at the clips yesterday, but like they weren't aware he was doing this, and they were like, yo, no way, Shotzy's actually doing this, right? Like Rambo's going to be super annoyed about it, and that's of course what we looked at yesterday. Now, turns out that didn't necessarily give the entire picture. Rambo said on stream last night, effectively like an update on the situation, that yeah, he's kind of waiting for some responses, and seemingly the doctor kind of said, look, give it a go, try it out in kind of, whatever was going on last night on that kind of, account that wasn't actually his, but he was playing on anyway. And it's kind of interesting, that situation, right? Of course, look, we're going to take Rambo's word for it, and I'm sure he knows a lot more about the situation than we do, but I still think it was kind of interesting, right, that, his teammates, Scum and Shotzzy, didn't really seem to know what was going on. I think Rambo might have explained that once to say, okay, when they found out, it was a little bit of a different timing, right, to when they, iLLeY hadn't necessarily, the rest of the team hadn't necessarily been informed that iLLeY was trying this out when that situation, when that clip was kind of coming up yesterday, but also the idea that iLLeY was playing on account not his own, probably to kind of keep this on the down low, but, it ends up getting leaked regardless.
I didn't really watch. Dude, people can say whatever he wants. Like, you hear it here from the source. The doc gave him the okay to play and see where things are at, and he played, and now he has information, and he can go back to the doc and tell him what was what. Simple as that. You guys are acting like I didn't know he was playing. It's not like he's like going behind our backs and playing like he's in the process of recovery and he's seeing where he's at.
So it's always difficult in these situations to speculate and kind of wonder what exactly is going on, because like as Rambo says this, right, of course, like, he knows a lot more about the situation than we do, but it is always interesting when stuff like this happens, and it seems like iLLeY's trying to, at least the impression was initially, he was kind of trying to hide that he was playing these shells for the rest of the team, and it's difficult to kind of align all the stories, and obviously speculation is going to arise as a result of something like that, until of course Rambo came out and kind of explained the situation. He had a few words on what kind of Apes and the guys in the reverse group were saying on the flank as well, but like, look, it's a talk show. Maybe they went a bit too far on some of the speculation they were having, but still, at the end of the day, I think it's kind of how it goes in Call of Duty sometimes. At least Rambo's here to kind of clear the air on exactly what was going on there, but still, I think the situation is like, Rambo's explanation makes sense, but at the same time, the fact that he wasn't playing on his own account, right, and his teammates didn't even know, like, there's still maybe some questions that are going to be raised as a result of that, is exactly how the communication was going on internally there, but also we don't have the answers to what was kind of the result of this, right? If the doctor said, okay, look, and Rambo said, look, give it a go, iLLeY, play for a few hours, see how it is, like, we don't really have any information on the update as to whether it worked out for him, right? Was he okay playing these trials? Like, did his thumb, did the pain come back? Like, what's he said to the doctor? So, that's of course something which I guess is the next step. But of course, as we have seen today, he will not be returning this upcoming weekend, which I think makes perfect sense. I think it's great for the team dynamics, really, to keep Prolute in the team as he is. He's obviously been fitting in very well. They also feel like they're thriving in a way on the kind of the limited pressure that they seem to have here, right? Like, because they're not playing with their full roster, they've, just here with Prolute, they're just trying to do their best with Prolute, and it seems to be working out for them really well, this dynamic. And Prolute, if anything, has been in some of the respawn gameplays putting up, crazy numbers that weren't even always the case when iLLeY was in the team. Of course, it's not all about numbers, though. Just to finish off with this, as Cronus thought was kind of funny, Paris Legion, the odds to win Major 3, currently paying out 301 to 1 to win the Major. So if you put $100 on them, you're guaranteed to lose that $100. Thought that was pretty good, but this is kind of the order of the favourites here. Guerrillas, despite winning Major 2, are down here right at the bottom. Of course, the teams that are in losers are going to have a tough time, and Mutineers also, because they play OpTic round 1. To me, I thought what was most interesting is around about here, because OpTic FaZe pretty similar. Now, Minnesota Rokkr, their 5-0 record, puts them as pretty much the third or joint second favourite to win the entire event, despite the fact that, in my opinion, like, I think OpTic and FaZe are probably number 1, number 2 favourites still, but then I don't know how I would call the number 3 favourite, right? Rokkr, Ultra, Subliners, even Surge, like, all of these teams, I think, to me, are in a pretty similar likelihood to win, to be honest. They're all looking pretty good. Rokkr, of course, had the better records, but, at the end of the day, one of these teams is going to walk away with it. Very tough to call who it's going to be right now. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tell us on YouTube gods, this is a good video, others like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.